Usually when we talk about how a movie begins,
Right.
we expect some kind of gentle scene setting.
Right. Yeah, a little ramp up.
Exactly, like a sweeping landscape, maybe a character waking up, just, a little atmospheric music to ease you into the world. You get settled in.
Yeah, that's the standard formula.
But imagine sitting in the theater for this one. You're sitting there, the lights go down, the screen comes up, and before the story even really begins, a wealthy American matriarch is just ripped apart by wolves.
Ripped apart in Catalonia.
In Catalonia. And played by Pamela Anderson, no less.
Oh, it is a profoundly jarring way to start anything. I mean, there is no ramp up at all.
None.
There's no musical cue to tell you how to feel. You just drop right into the brutal aftermath.
Yeah.
The matriarch is simply gone, violently and immediately. And, well, she delivers that brief, visceral presence with absolute appropriate excess.
It's wild.
It really is. It's a statement of intent from the filmmakers. They're basically saying, forget whatever safety you thought you had in this theater.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because somehow, Pamela Anderson getting eaten by wolves is like not even the strangest part of this movie.
Not even close, yeah.
What we're left with in the wake of that cold open is just madness. We have a blind father. We have 4 adult siblings trapped in this incredibly dark, incestuous codependency.
Right.
And they're all living on this stunning, totally isolated estate on the Spanish coast.
Yeah.
Just completely walled off and inherited luxury.
And that extreme isolation and, the very specific madness it breeds, that is exactly what we are focusing on for today's deep dive.
Definitely.
We're looking at the highly polarizing new film, Rosebush Pruning. It premieres July 10th in UK cinemas via MUBI, and it just had its world premiere at the 76th Berlin International Film Festival.
Where it was nominated for the Golden Bear, actually.
Exactly. And a U.S. release is going to follow soon. So our mission today is to figure out exactly what this movie is trying to achieve.
Right, the big question.
Is it a brilliant cutthroat satire of class, fashion, and extreme privilege? Or is it just like a shallow, taboo-baiting provocation?
Something that just mistakes pure shock value for actual meaning.
Exactly.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Right.
Because looking at the sources we have, this film hasn't just prompted mild disagreement. I mean, it has divided audiences and critics right down the middle, aggressively.
It really has. But, whether you consider yourself a hardcore cinephile or you're just someone fascinated by the bizarre psychology of the ultra-rich, this film offers a masterclass.
Oh, totally.
It's a masterclass in how extreme, unchecked isolation warps human behavior. So today, we're going to explore the cinematic DNA of this project, the brilliant way it subverts its own characters' archetypes, and, well, why it's causing such a massive fundamental rift among critics.
I really want to get into the actual plot of the movie, but looking through these notes, I don't think we can understand what happens without first talking about the soil this family is planted in.
Yeah, the environment is key.
Exactly. Both in the world of the film itself and in the history of cinema. It's crucial here.
It's completely unavoidable. The film carries a very specific, very heavy pedigree that dictates how you're supposed to read the behavior of these characters.
So let's look at the Taylor family first.
Yeah.
You have these ridiculously wealthy Americans who have relocated to Spain. The father is played by Tracy Letts, and he's blind.
Right.
And then you have the 4 siblings. You've got Anna, played by Riley Keough, who is incredibly calm, very precise, and clearly hiding something behind that composure.
Oh, absolutely.
Then you have Robert, played by Lukas Gage, who operates as the most obviously unhinged, chaotic element of the group.
Yeah, he's a lot.
He is. And you have Ed, played by Callum Turner, who is a whole separate conversation we'll get to in a second.
We definitely will.
A fun piece of trivia for you, by the way.
Yeah.
Kristen Stewart and Josh O'Connor were originally cast in this film.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but both had to drop out, which is how Riley Keough and Callum Turner stepped in.
Which is a massive tonal shift in casting. I mean, think about it.
Totally different vibe.
Right. Think about the nervous, kinetic energy Kristen Stewart brings versus the icy precision of Riley Keough.
Yeah, it's night and day.
That swap alone shapes the entire energy of the film.
But the really important thing to understand about these siblings isn't just their individual quirks. It's how they orbit the eldest brother, Jack, who's played by Jamie Bell.
Jack is the linchpin.
He is the center of gravity. All 4 siblings are deeply, uncomfortably entangled with him in a world where incest isn't just happening, it's totally normalized.
Right.
Honestly, the way I was thinking about it while reviewing our sources, it's like the Taylor family estate is an isolated Galapagos island.
A Galapagos island.
Oh.
Okay, walk me through the mechanics of that.
Well, think about how evolution works on the Galapagos, right? When a piece of land breaks off from the mainland and sits out in the ocean for millions of years, the animals there evolve in completely unique, sometimes bizarre ways.
Right, because they're separated.
Exactly. Birds lose the ability to fly because they have no natural predators. So in the Taylor house, these siblings have lost their basic moral compass because they have no financial predators.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, wealth has completely insulated them from the consequences of their actions. So their empathy, their understanding of normal human boundaries just
And devolved.
devolved. Exactly. They've been cut off from normal society for so long that they've created a completely unique moral ecosystem that makes sense only to them.
What's fascinating here is how perfectly that Galapagos environment connects to the film's source material.
Right? Because it's an adaptation.
Yeah, Rosebush pruning isn't a wholly original concept. It's actually a loose adaptation of a 1965 Italian film called Fists in the Pocket, directed by Marco Bellocchio.
And from what I read, that original film was hugely controversial, right? Like, it wasn't exactly a crowd pleaser in the mid-60s.
Oh, massively controversial. At the time, it was considered one of the most transgressive debut features in European cinema.
Wow.
Yeah. Fists in the Pocket is about a young man who decides to murder members of his own deeply dysfunctional family, one by one.
Just one by one.
Yep, all to free his seemingly normal brother from the burden of caring for them. It is disturbing, it is darkly funny, and it basically created the entire template for European art films about families acting as systems of mutual captivity.
Okay, so they took that 1965 template of mutual captivity, but they ran it through the modern creative team behind this new movie, which is just a wild combination.
It really is.
Because the script is by Efthimis Filippou.
Right, and he's widely considered the architect of the Greek weird wave.
Wait, let me stop you there because Greek weird wave gets thrown around a lot in film circles. But for someone listening who hasn't taken a modern cinema studies class, what does that actually mean in practice?
That's a great question. If you haven't seen his previous films, things like Dogtooth, The Lobster, or The Killing of a Sacred Deer, the weird wave style is essentially about stripping all the expected emotion out of extreme situations.
Okay, so like deadpan.
Extreme deadpan. Imagine a character delivering a horrific threat, like telling someone they are going to murder them, but they use the exact same flat, bored, monotone voice you'd use to ask someone to pass the salt.
Oh, wow. That's unsettling.
Very. The dialogue is stilted, hyperliteral, and completely devoid of normal affect. Filippou treats major social taboos like incest or murder as neutral, everyday facts.
And that script is being directed by Karim Aïnouz, who made Motel Destino and The Invisible Life of Eurydice Guzmán. So you have this incredibly deadpan, perverse writing style, colliding with Aïnouz's incredibly lush, gorgeous visual.
Yeah, the contrast is intense.
But I have to push back on this approach a little bit. I mean, is treating incest and murder with total deadpan neutrality actually making a profound point about humanity? Or is it just the filmmakers being edgy for the sake of it?
That's the debate.
Because reading through the material, sometimes it feels like they just want to see how uncomfortable they can make the audience without actually saying anything real.
And that is exactly the tension that defines the entire movie. That's the tightrope it's walking. Is it bravery or is it just self-indulgence?
Right.
The film has been described as Dogtooth in a Spanish villa, or Kind Hearts and Coronets reimagined by a European edgelord,
That's hilarious.
or even a sleazy companion piece to the show Succession. And, all of those descriptions are accurate, but they're also incomplete.
Why incomplete?
Because they miss the specific dynamic that kicks the plot into motion,
Right.
thing that finally shatters that deadpan neutrality.
Which brings us back to our Galapagos Island. Because an ecosystem like that only survives if it stays perfectly isolated.
Exactly.
But eventually, an invasive species is going to wash up on shore and threaten the entire delicate balance.
And in this film, that invasive species is a woman named Martha.
Yes. Jack, the eldest brother, the linchpin of the family, announces out of nowhere that he is bringing home a girlfriend from the outside world.
And Martha is played by Elle Fanning.
And her arrival just ruins everything. It is the first genuine threat this closed system has ever experienced because she is from the outside.
Right, she's not part of the ecosystem.
She hasn't been breathing their recycled air. She can see exactly what is happening in this house.
And this is where Ed steps into the spotlight. That lack of consequences we talked about earlier, that total insulation from reality.
Yeah.
That is exactly what makes Ed completely misread the situation when the real world walks through their front door.
Okay, let's dig into Ed, Callum Turner's character. Ed is actually the narrator of the film, which is a wild choice by the filmmakers.
It really is.
Because Ed is, well, the sources describe him this way very accurately. He's an empty-headed fashionista.
He is profoundly lacking in self-awareness.
He really is. He's recently befriended an older man and doesn't even seem to recognize that his own feelings are romantic.
Right. He's just oblivious.
Completely. He is just drifting aimlessly through this opulent, walled-off life. But he considers himself very profound.
Oh, he thinks he's a philosopher.
Yes. He drops these self-invented catchphrases that he thinks are incredible philosophical insights. And his defining one, the one that actually gives the movie its title, is people are like roses. Families are like rose bushes. And rose bushes need pruning.
It is such a wonderfully terrifying line because of how literally he takes it. Ed decides to protect his brother Jack. He decides he's going to prune the rosebush.
Meaning he is going to methodically murder his own family members to free Jack. So Jack can live a normal life with Martha.
Yep, that's the plan.
He starts with the ones he thinks are the most terrible and just plans to work his way through the list one by one.
But we have to clarify the tone of this crime spree because this goes back to the weird wave sensibility.
Right.
This isn't a sleek, high-octane thriller. You aren't watching a brilliant mastermind execute a flawless heist. It is a black comedy of murderous incompetence.
Because he's a silver spoon rich kid trying to be an assassin. Imagine someone who has had a staff pick up after them their entire life, suddenly trying to execute a master plan that requires meticulous attention to detail.
Precisely. The sources point out that his errors are frequent and his errors are deadly. He approaches murder the same way a clueless billionaire approaches a DIY home renovation.
With unearned confidence.
Unearned confidence and catastrophic results. But what makes Ed's narrations so fascinating, despite the fact that he is constantly messing up, is his absolute sincerity.
Right. He means well, in a sick way.
He genuinely believes he is the most clear-eyed person in the room. He thinks his rosebush metaphor is profound philosophy. He thinks his murderous plan is a noble, tragic sacrifice.
But he is wrong about all of it. And his biggest mistake isn't just his incompetence at murder. It's that he has completely misread the invasive species he is supposedly helping.
He completely miscalculates who Martha is.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Martha is introduced to the family as this delicate naif. She is soft-spoken, easily overwhelmed. She clearly looks totally out of place in this hyper-wealthy, bizarre Taylor world.
Yeah, she seems so fragile.
You look at her and think, oh, she is in so much danger around these predators. But she is not the one in danger here.
Not even a little bit.
The twist is that Martha is actually a manipulative gold digger who fully intends to marry into the Taylor family's immense wealth.
Right.
She presents as fragile, but she wants the money. She sees the family with crystal clarity, and she is far more capable of surviving in their twisted ecosystem than anyone expects.
And that is arguably the film's smartest narrative move. I mean, think about the Taylor family dynamics we discussed. Everyone is putting on a performance to survive each other.
Yeah, Ed is performing profundity.
Right. Anna is performing calm. Robert is performing chaos. But Martha is the only character in the entire film whose performance has a legible, grounded goal.
She wants the bag.
Yeah.
And she knows exactly how to play them to get it.
She absolutely wants the bag. And the irony the film builds toward is just delicious. Ed is painstakingly trying to prune the family tree to free his brother so his brother can have a normal life with Martha.
Right.
But Ed is executing this grand, murderous plan on behalf of a woman who probably doesn't even want the normal life he's trying to give them.
Oh, definitely not.
Martha is playing a much longer game than Ed's little rosebush metaphor can even begin to accommodate.
And we really have to talk about Elle Fanning's performance here because the sources are unanimous on this. Elle Fanning has spent years and years playing the delicate ingenue.
Yeah, the soft, ethereal princess.
Like Aurora in Maleficent. And in this film, she takes that exact image, that exact cultural baggage, and systematically dismantles it.
It's brilliant.
She uses her signature breathy voice and due-out posture, which usually signals innocence, to actively manipulate Ed. She's weaponizing our own cinematic expectations against us.
It is universally agreed upon in the reviews that she is the best part of the film, by a wide margin.
Oh, for sure.
He understands the assignment perfectly. I mean, how does a seemingly soft character survive in a house of predators? By making the predators think she's prey until it's too late.
Just as Martha pulls the wool over the Taylor family's eyes by presenting as one thing and acting as another, this film pulled a massive bait and switch on critics.
It really did.
Half the theater thought they were watching a profound satire, and the other half felt totally scammed. It has split the reviews right down the middle in a way you rarely see.
It has produced some of the most vehemently divided criticism of any film this year. The hostility in some of these reviews is palpable.
I'm just going to lay out the completely impartial facts of the reviews here because the contrast is wild.
Go for it.
In the positive camp, you have places like MUBI calling it a wickedly cutthroat satire of class, fashion, and privilege. The Experiment called it a bad taste riot.
A bad taste riot, yeah.
IndieWire called it ravishing yet perverse. And as we mentioned, the audience at the Berlin Film Festival gave it a standing ovation.
So a very strong positive reception from a segment of the critical world that really values transgression.
Right. But then you look at the negative camp, and they pull absolutely no punches. The movie Waffler literally called the filmmaker an insufferable European edgelord.
Ouch!
I know. The Hollywood Reporter dismissed it as shallowness with style in a mixed-bag satire. They essentially argued that being provocative isn't the same thing as being profound, and they found the whole exercise exhausting.
But even with that massive schism, there is a middle ground. There's a unifying consensus across all the reviews, both positive and negative.
Oh, the visuals.
The visuals. Everyone agrees the film looks extraordinary. Karim Aïnouz uses the lush Spanish sun, the beautiful villa exteriors, that incredible Mediterranean light, and contrasts it directly with these incredibly ugly, perverse deeds.
Yeah, the cinematography is doing a lot of the heavy lifting here.
It really is. The cast is also universally praised for being committed well beyond what the material might actually deserve.
So if the visuals are universally praised and the acting is recognized as great, what is the actual breaking point for people? Why the visceral hatred from half the critics?
Well, this raises an important question about the legacy of Efthimis Filippou's most famous film, Dogtooth.
Okay, let's get into that.
The disagreement among critics really hinges on whether Filippou's weird wave sensibility works in this specific context. In Dogtooth, treating incest and violence as neutral facts with no emotional weight worked because that film had an ironclad internal logic.
Right.
The characters in Dogtooth were raised from birth in a literal compound with a fabricated language, so their deadpan delivery was a symptom of their abuse.
It felt necessary for the world they built. It wasn't just a stylistic quirk, it was the entire point of the movie.
Exactly. The honest assessment that threads through both the positive and negative reviews of Rosebush Pruning is this.
Yeah.
If you watched Dogtooth and felt nothing, you will absolutely feel nothing here. But if you found the deadpan approach in Dogtooth genuinely unsettling and fascinating, then Rosebush Pruning has enough of that quality to justify its runtime.
But it doesn't have the same structural precision, does it?
No, it lacks the internal precision of Dogtooth. The Taylor family wasn't raised in a fabricated reality. They were just rich and insulated.
Just rich kids.
Yeah, so the weirdness feels a bit more applied rather than organic. But it carries all of its unapologetic posture. It exists in a tradition of European cinema that absolutely refuses to apologize for its ugliness. Bellocchio's original Fists in the Pocket didn't apologize,
Right.
and Rosebush Pruning does not apologize.
So what does this all mean? When we step back from the murderous incompetence, the incredible Mediterranean lighting, and the critical dogfights, what is this film actually trying to convey?
Well, it's definitely not a movie about horticulture.
Definitely not. It seems clear that it's a satire of a very specific class of person. The ultra-wealthy who have sealed themselves inside their own bubble so completely that they've generated their own twisted morality.
Precisely. From the outside, the Taylor family looks completely insane. But from the inside, their logic is just how things work.
Yeah, to them it's normal.
Right. They don't experience their extreme isolation as a deprivation. They experience it as a necessary protection from a lesser world. They don't experience incest as a horrific transgression. They experience it as ultimate intimacy. And when Ed decides to murder his siblings, in his mind, it isn't monstrous. It's just gardening.
It's just pruning the rose bush.
It's just pruning. And I think that's what the film wants you to wrestle with regarding privilege. When you have enough money and insulation to be entirely separated from consequence, right and wrong simply become matters of personal preference.
That's a chilling thought.
It is. Aïnouz and Filippou are betting that this extreme, bloody metaphor is a brilliant observation about closed systems.
And as the reviews show, the jury is still very much out on whether they succeeded in saying something profound or if they just made a beautifully lit movie to shock people into paying attention.
Which leaves us with a final thought to consider, something that goes beyond just critiquing the film's success as a satire. Think about the sealed worlds in your own life.
Oh, that's just it.
We all have them, even if we don't have a Spanish villa. Your workplace, a tight-knit friend group, your own family. What internal logic have you accepted as totally normal simply because you've been inside the bubble for so long that you've stopped testing it against the outside world?
That's deep.
When does loyalty to that closed system stop being a virtue and start becoming a trap?
That is a fascinating question to take away. Because we might not be millionaires on the Mediterranean, but we all build walls. And we all convince ourselves that the way things work inside our walls is the only way things can work.
We do, and sometimes it takes an outside perspective, an invasive species, to show us how strange our own gardens have really become.
Wow. Well, if you want to see exactly how strange the Taylor family garden gets, Rosebush Pruning is distributed by MUBI. It's in UK cinemas starting July 10th, with a US release following soon, so keep an eye out for those dates.
Definitely check it out if you're ready for it.
Yeah, thank you for joining us in the garden for this deep dive. Like Ed says, people are like roses. Families are like rose bushes. Some roses are worth keeping and some aren't. And honestly, the fact that this film isn't always sure which is which, and that it sparks this intense, visceral debate among anyone who watches it, is exactly what makes the cinema experience feel so alive. Just, keep an eye out for the wolves.